Welcome everyone. Let's discuss the solutions of COA major paper. So in the major paper, there were 3 questions and we will discuss each question separately. Let's first go to the first question in that particular paper. The question number 1 was why have we moved from single cycle to multiple cycle processes? Okay. So the solution for the same is that the main reason for moving from single cycle to multiple cycle processors, the following are the reasons. So let me write the reasons here. The first reason, as you can see, so the most of the students have written the answers that we are not complete. There were only partial answers. No one has done a complete. We can say the complete solution was not provided. So for a single cycle processor, so we know that every instruction is completed in one cycle. Okay. So for that particular case, IPC or CPI is equal to 1. IPC is equal to 1 and CPI is also equal to 1. However, for multiple cycle processors, each instruction is completed in multiple cycles, not in a single cycle. So IPC is less than 1. Okay. So if we compare in terms of IPCs, then we can see here that IPC for single cycle is better as compared to multiple cycle processors. So by comparing only the IPCs, we can say that single cycle is better than multiple cycles. Okay. However, that is not the answer. The answer is that let's say we have a single cycle processor. In a single cycle processor, we want that the instruction should be completed in one cycle. So that means our cycle should be large enough so that the complete instruction will be completed in this particular cycle. Okay. And we know that in a single cycle processor, every instruction, whatever may be the instruction, that should be completed in a single cycle. So even the slowest instruction, or we can say the instruction that is taking the most time, should also be completed in one cycle. So the cycle time here depends upon the slowest instruction. And you cannot decrease the cycle time beyond a certain limit, because the cycle time is determined by the slowest instruction. Or we can say our frequency, we cannot increase the frequency beyond a certain limit. Okay. Here I am saying we cannot decrease the cycle time. That means we cannot increase the frequency beyond a certain limit. And the reason is that every instruction should be completed in this complete cycle. So the frequency remains constant, almost constant in single cycle processors. And this frequency is very small. Okay. And the reason is that every instruction, we have to complete the instruction in one cycle. So the cycle should be large enough so that the slowest instruction is completed in that particular cycle. In multiple cycle processors, we know that we are dividing the processor into stages. Okay. And each stage, we can say that each stage can take, let's say, 2 cycles or 1 cycles. Okay. So the complete instruction should not be completed in a single cycle. It can be completed in multiple cycles. So there is no limit in terms of the instructions on the cycle width. Okay. So the cycle width does not depend upon the nature of an instruction. If I have an instruction, the cycle width here does not depend upon the size of the instruction or how much time this instruction is taking. But in the single cycle processors, the cycle width depends upon the nature of an instruction. Okay. But in case of multiple cycle, this cycle width is independent of this instruction. So you can decrease the cycle width as much as you want, or we can say we can increase the frequency as much as we want. And we know performance is equal to IPC into frequency. So if we are increasing the frequency, that means we are increasing the performance. So we can decrease the cycle width irrespective of the nature of the instruction. That means we can increase the frequency irrespective of what instruction we are executing. However, our single cycle processors have the limitation that they won't allow us to decrease the cycle width beyond a certain limit, or we can say we cannot increase the frequency beyond a certain limit. So the frequency of single cycle processors is very less as compared to multiple cycle processors. So as a result, because of having higher frequency of multiple cycle processors, we have better performance in these processors. That is why we are moving from single cycle to multiple cycle processors. But please keep in mind that even in multiple cycle processors, we cannot increase frequency beyond a certain limit. So we can increase the frequency, for example, up to 4 gigahertz, but increasing the frequency above 4 gigahertz or above, having much higher frequency, that will have a negative effect on the power consumption. But that is not the point of discussion here. We only want to discuss that because of having higher frequency in multiple cycle processors, we are moving from single cycle to multiple cycle processors. So that was the answer for question number 1. So now let's discuss question number 2. Okay, so this is our question number 2 of our major paper. So question 2 is saying that assume we have a 6-stage pipeline such that the branches are resolved in the 5th stage. We have already discussed in our lecture videos that our pipeline is of how many stages? Is of 5 stages. Okay. In our class videos, we were discussing we have 5 stages and the branch is resolved in 3rd stage. Okay. So whenever a branch is resolved in 3rd stage, we have a pipeline bubble because of the branch instructions. Those bubbles are, how many bubbles are there? There are 2 bubbles. Okay. So you have to remember, if there are 3 stages, then the bubbles will be 2. And if there are 4 stages, the number of bubbles will be 3. And if there are 5 stages, then number of bubbles will be 4. Okay. Or we can say if the branch is resolved in 3rd stage, number of bubbles is 2. If the branch is resolved in 4th stage, number of bubbles will be 3. And if the branch is resolved in 5th stage, the bubbles will be 4. Okay. So here we are saying assume a 6-stage pipeline such that the branches are resolved in 5th stage. So since the branch is resolved in 5th stage, so the penalty, or we can say the number of delay slots, will be equal to 4. Okay. So the number of delay slots will be equal to 4. Or we can say branch penalty is 4. Or we can say the number of cycles that we are wasting for each branch instruction will be equal to 4. Number of cycles that we are wasting. So 4 cycles are wasted, or we can say we have 4 delay slots. So let's go to the question again. Assume, so let me rub this portion here. So what I am saying that assume there are, assume a 6-stage pipeline such that the branches are resolved in the 5th stage. Calculate the number of delay slots in such a pipeline. So the first part was to calculate the number of delay slots, or we can say calculate the branch penalty. Okay. And here I have already discussed the branch penalty will be equal to 4, or we can say the number of delay slots will be 4. Okay. So for every branch instruction, we need extra 4 cycles. So this was the first part. The branch penalty will be equal to 4, or we can say the delay slots will be 4. Assume that we want to run a program with 20% branch instructions. So let's say we have a program and that program has X instructions. Okay. And out of those X, 20% are branch. So 20% branch will be 0.2X. Okay. So these number of instructions are branch instructions. Then what will be the IPC? So we have to calculate the IPC. We know here we are given idle IPC is equal to 1. Idle IPC means that in idle case, if the branch instruction has no penalty, then in that particular scenario, IPC will be equal to 1. IPC will be equal to 1. That means every instruction takes 1 cycle to complete. So let's say how many instructions are there? X instructions. So X instructions will take how many cycles? X cycles. Okay, fine. So X instructions will take X cycles. Okay, so I will write here number of cycles for X instructions will be X. But this X will be when idle IPC is equal to 1. But we know that this is not an idle pipeline because there are branch instructions. So this particular processor will take X cycles plus the penalty associated with branch instructions. So what is the penalty associated with each instruction? 4. So how many branch instructions are there? 0.2x. So 0.2x multiplied by 4. These will be the extra instructions that are, or extra cycles that will be required. So in idle case, we will require only X cycles. However, since every branch instruction has these 4 extra cycles, and how many branch instructions are there? 0.2x. So the total total extra cycles that will be required will be 0.2x into 4. So it will be equal to, if you solve this, it will be 1.8x. Okay, so number of cycles required to execute how many instructions? X instructions. So number of cycles required to execute one instruction, or we can say CPI. CPI will be equal to 1.8x divided by x. Okay, so x and x will cancel, so it will be 1.8. And IPC is reciprocal of CPI, and a reciprocal of CPI will be 1 divided by 1. Okay, so this will be the final answer. So you have to solve this, whatever the answer, that will be the IPC. So this was the second part of the problem. Now let's come to the third part. Okay, so let's see what was the third part. And we know penalty is how many cycles? 4 cycles. So what was the third part? The third part was saying, now let's say in the same processor, we are using a branch predictor. Okay, so branch predictor, and that branch predictor has accuracy of 70%. So that means for 70% of branch instructions. So how many are branch instructions? X are the total. So 0.2x are branch instructions. Okay, so for 70% of branch instructions, we are predicting correctly. Okay, so since our branch predictor has 70% accuracy, that means for 70% branch instructions, we don't have any branch penalty. However, for the remaining branch instructions, so what will be the remaining branch instructions? The remaining will be 30%. So 30% of these branch instructions. So 30% of these will be 0.3 into 0.2x. That will be equal to 0.6x, 0.06x. Okay. So for these instructions, these branch instructions, we have a branch penalty. Why we have a branch penalty? Because for these particular instructions, we are not able to correctly predict the correct execution or correct branch target. Okay, so for these instructions, we have a branch penalty. So the total number of cycles that will be required for X instructions will be again X in case of idle plus penalty. Penalty will be for these instructions. So 0.06x. So for these instructions, we have a penalty, and penalty is how much? 4. Okay, multiplied by 4. So it will be equal to, if you multiply this, it will be x plus 0.24x. That will be equal to 1.24x. Okay, so we can say CPI will be equal to, so we have to divide here by total number of instructions. That will be equal to 1.24x divided by x, and that will be equal to 1.24. So this is CPI. So IPC will be equal to, that will be the reciprocal of CPI, and that is 1 divided by 1.24. Okay, So this was the answer of question number 2, and it was very simple. The questions were very simple. So now let's go to the question number 3. So here we have question number 3. So what was it saying? It was saying that consider a direct mapped cache in a 32-bit system. So we have a direct mapped cache in a 32-bit system. So that means we have total how many addresses? 32-bit addresses. Okay, so this is our address, 32-bit. The cache has following configuration. So what was the configuration? And we know in a cache there are two arrays. One is the tag array and another is data array. Okay, so this is our data. The cache has following configuration: 64 byte blocks. So here we have blocks, and each block is of how many size? 64 bytes. So each block stores 64 bytes. Okay, blocks with 10-bit index. So we know that in a direct mapped cache, our address has 3 parts. The first part is offset. Offset is determined by, who determines the offset? The block size determines the offset. Here we have block size of 64 byte. So 64 byte means 2 raised power 6 bytes. So that means offset will be 6 bits. So this offset is 6. So, and the next part is index. Index determines the number of blocks in the cache. Okay, so how many bits are there? 10-bit. 10-bit index. That means how many blocks will be in the cache? There will be 2 raised power 10 blocks because the index is 10 bits. So here total number of blocks will be 2 raised to power 10. And each block stores how many bytes? 64 bytes. And the last part is the tag. Okay, so what will be the tag? Tag will be subtract from this 32, this 10 and 16. It will be 16 bits. So the tag is 16 bits. So each entry of tag stores how many bits? 16 bits. And we know if the data tag has 2 raised power 10 entries, tag will also has 2 raised power 10 entries. Okay, so we have to remember this. Now let's see the question. The cache has the following configuration: 64 byte blocks with 10-bit index. Each entry of the tag array has 1 valid bit and 1 dirty bit. So that means each entry of the tag, this, has 2 extra bits. Okay, so we have a tag plus these 2 extra bits. So we can say each entry of the tag has how many bits? 16 bits as tag and these 2 extra. So it will be 18 bits. 18 bits. Okay. In addition to the tag, calculate the size of the cache. So we have to calculate the size of cache. Size of cache means size of tag plus size of data array. So let's first see the data array. What is the size of data array? So the size of data array will be, how many entries are there? 2 raised power 10. Into each entry stores how many bytes? 64 bytes. Okay, so the total size will be 2 raised power 10 will be kilo. So it will be 64 kilobytes. Okay, it is for data array. Now let's see the tag array, size of tag array. Each entry stores how many bits? 18 bits. Okay, 18 bits. And how many entries are there? 2 raised power 10. So it will be equal to 18 kilo. So 2 raised power 10 is kilo bits B, small b. Now the total size will be, what will be the total size? It will be the size of data. What is the size of data? 64 KB plus size of tag. And what is the size of tag? 18 kilobits. Okay, so this was the final answer. So this was all about the solutions of the questions that we are asked in our major paper.